Hey guys, welcome back to Walk and Study. Today we will be going over some more hyper-advanced English vocabulary. This video is great for anyone studying for the TOEFL, IELTS, or the GRE, or anyone who wants to learn some very advanced English vocabulary. As we work through these words, we will be walking on Colfax Avenue in Denver, Colorado. Supposedly, Playboy magazine once referred to Colfax as the longest, wickedest street in America, but I think there's more fiction than fact in that particular story. Okay, let's get started. Our first word is hyperbole. Hyperbole is a noun, and it means exaggerations or claims not meant to be taken literally, and often they are claims made to produce a desired impression. Using hyperbole in a sentence, we could say, while Alfred claimed his house was one of the 7 wonders of the world, visitors saw his statements as hyperbole. So while Alfred claimed his house was so magnificent that it should be considered one of the 7 wonders of the world, visitors saw these statements as exaggerations not meant to be taken literally. We could also say, Lars thought most of the politicians' speeches were filled with hyperbole. So Lars thought most of the politicians' speeches were filled with exaggerations not meant to be taken literally, and in this case, the desired impression of those exaggerations was probably to make the politician look better in the eyes of the audience or the voters. Okay, our next word is euphony. Euphony is a noun, and it means a pleasant melodic sound. Using euphony in a sentence, we could say, the singer's performance sounded like euphony. So the singer's performance was a pleasant, harmonious sound. We could also say, it took 2 months' worth of lessons before the new violin student was able to produce anything close to euphony. So it took 2 months' worth of lessons before the violin student could produce anything that sounded like pleasant, sweet-sounding music. Our next word is bombastic. Bombastic is an adjective, and it means irritatingly and artificially grand or self-important in the way one speaks and acts. Using bombastic in a sentence, we could say, the king's speeches were bombastic and filled with hyperbole. So the king's speeches were irritatingly and artificially self-important and filled with exaggerations. We could also say, my Uncle Ted is well known for his bombastic personality. So my Uncle Ted is well known for his irritating and self-important personality. Our next word is capricious. Capricious is an adjective, and it means changing one's mind or behavior quickly and often, and it frequently has a negative connotation. Using capricious in a sentence, we could say, Ferdinand had a very capricious boss whose inconsistent behavior frustrated everyone in the office. So Ferdinand had a boss who changed his mind and behavior quickly and often, and this inconsistent behavior frustrated the people who had to work with him. We could also say, having a capricious mother made Lucy very resilient and flexible. So having a mother who changed her mind and behavior quickly and often made Lucy become a very flexible and resilient person. Our next word is fervid. Fervid is an adjective, and it means intensely emotional and passionate. So passionate you are almost feverish. Using fervid in a sentence, we could say, Lionel Messi has many fervid fans all across the world. So Lionel Messi has many fans who are intensely emotional and passionate. We could also say, Bob is a fervid ABBA fan. So Bob is an intensely emotional and passionate fan of the Swedish band ABBA. Our next word is lumber. Lumber is a verb, and it means to move slowly and awkwardly. Using lumber in a sentence, we could say, the drunk man lumbered down the street. So the drunk man moved slowly and awkwardly down the street. We could also say, after waking up, Jimmy lumbered into the kitchen to make some coffee. So after waking up, Jimmy moved slowly and awkwardly into the kitchen to make coffee. Our next word is connoisseur. Connoisseur is a noun, and it means a person with expert knowledge, refined taste, or good judgment about a particular thing or subject. Using connoisseur in a sentence, we could say, Sabrina was a connoisseur of Argentinian wines. So Sabrina was a person with expert knowledge and refined taste when it comes to Argentinian wines. We could also say, having placed last in every spelling bee he ever competed in, Lucas was a connoisseur of bad spelling. So Lucas is a person with expert knowledge of bad spelling, and the evidence of this is that he got last place in every spelling competition he ever competed in. This sentence uses connoisseur in a more playful way, but I think it illustrates the definition well. Our next word is elegy. Elegy is a noun, and it means a sorrowful poem or speech. Using elegy in a sentence, we could say, after coming home from war, Michael published an elegy written for the friends he had lost. So after coming home from war, Michael published a sorrowful poem about his friends who had died in the war. We could also say, at his grandmother's funeral, Lorenzo gave an elegy that made his family proud. So at his grandmother's funeral, Lorenzo recited a sorrowful poem that made his family proud. Our next word is fallow. Fallow is a noun, and it means dormant or unused and inactive. Using fallow in a sentence, we could say, the farmer always let some fields lie fallow for a year, so the soil did not become completely depleted. So the farmer always let some fields lie unused or inactive, so the soil could rest and regenerate itself. The word fallow is often used in the context of farming and agriculture, but you might also hear it used in other contexts as well. For example, we could say, Carlene was afraid that her son was watching too much TV, leaving his mind fallow and unexercised. So Carlene was afraid that by watching so much TV, her son was leaving his mind unused and inactive. Our next word is catalyst. Catalyst is a noun, and it means something that brings about change in something else. Using catalyst in a sentence, we could say, the king's new taxes were a catalyst for the peasant revolution. So the king's new taxes were a thing that brought about or contributed to the peasant revolution. We could also say, Jessica's catalyst for quitting was getting a higher paying job at another company. So the thing that brought about Jessica's change in employment was getting a higher paying job at a different company. Our next word is erudite. Erudite is an adjective, and it means learned, scholarly, and bookish. Using erudite in a sentence, we could say, Boris thought his new glasses made him look very erudite. So Boris thought his new glasses made him look very scholarly and wise. We could also say, the annual meeting of the Royal Academy of Sciences brought together many of the world's most erudite people in a single location. So the annual meeting of the Royal Academy of Sciences brought together many of the world's most learned and scholarly people. Our next word is luminous. Luminous is an adjective, and it means bright, brilliant, and glowing. Using luminous in a sentence, we could say, "The park was bathed in luminous sunshine that warmed the bodies and the souls of the visitors." So the park was bathed in bright, brilliant sunshine that warmed the bodies and souls of the people in the park. We could also say, Mrs. Antonopoulos recognized Sarah's luminous intelligence as early as the first grade. So Mrs. Antonopoulos recognized Sarah's brilliant and radiant intelligence when Sarah was still in the first grade. Our next word is hapless. Hapless is an adjective, and it means unfortunate or having bad luck. Using hapless in a sentence, we could say, Francesca's hapless brother wasn't able to find a job after graduating from college. So Francesca's unfortunate and unlucky brother couldn't find a job after he graduated from college. We could also say, 3 years in a row, the rains never came, and the hapless farmer watched his crops wither and die. So 3 years in a row, the rains never came, and the unlucky farmer watched his crops die. Our next word is cacophony. Cacophony is a noun, and it means a harsh and jarring noise. Actually, cacophony is an antonym, or a word with the opposite meaning, of our second word in this lesson, which was euphony. Using cacophony in a sentence, we could say, the middle school orchestra created an almost unbearable cacophony as they tried to tune their instruments. So the middle school orchestra created an almost unbearably harsh and jarring noise as they tried to tune their instruments. We could also say, while on a trip to the jungles of Ecuador, Mete was awoken every morning by the cacophony created by the native birds. So while on a trip to Ecuador's jungle, Mete was woken up every morning by the harsh and jarring noises produced by the native birds. Okay, our last word is husband, but it's husband as a verb and not as a noun. When using it as a verb, husband means to manage something economically or to conserve. Using husband as a verb in a sentence, we could say, the marathon runner paced herself at the start of the race, knowing that if she husbanded her energy, she would have the strength to win the race at the end. So the marathon runner paced herself at the start of the race because she knew that if she conserved her energy at the beginning, she would have the strength left over to win the race at the end. We could also say, the newly married couple knew they would have to husband their resources if they were going to buy a house in the future. So the newly married couple knew that they would have to conserve or manage their resources economically if they were going to buy a house in the future. Okay, with that, we've gone over some more hyper-advanced English vocabulary. I hope this lesson was helpful for you all. As always, subscribe below, give us a like if you found this video useful, and let us know in the comments section what else you'd like to learn about or see in our next walk and study lesson. Thanks, guys. Take care.